Welcome back. So in the last video, we had a look at a few tensor attributes, namely the data type of a tensor, the shape of a tensor, and the device that a tensor lives on. And I alluded to the fact that these will help resolve three of the most common issues in building neural networks, deep learning models, specifically with PyTorch. So tensors not being the right data type, tensors not being the right shape, and tensors not being on the right device. So now let's get into manipulating tensors. And what I mean by that, so let's just write here the title, manipulating tensors, and this is going to be tensor operations. So when we're building neural networks are comprised of lots of mathematical functions that PyTorch code is going to run behind the scenes for us. So let's go here. Tensor operations include addition, subtraction, and these are the regular addition, subtraction, multiplication. There's two types of multiplication that you'll typically see referenced in deep learning and neural networks: division and matrix multiplication. And these, the ones here, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, are your typical operations that you're probably familiar with. Matrix multiplication. The only different one here is matrix multiplication. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. But to find patterns in numbers of a data set, a neural network will combine these functions in some way, shape, or form. So it takes a tensor full of random numbers, performs some kind of combination of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, matrix multiplication. It doesn't have to be all of these, it could be any combination of these, to manipulate these numbers in some way to represent a data set. So that's how a neural network learns, is it will just comprise these functions, look at some data to adjust the numbers of a random tensor, and then go from there. But with that being said, let's look at a few of these. So we'll begin with addition. First thing we need to do is create a tensor. And to add something to a tensor, we'll just go torch tensor. Let's go 1, 2, 3. Add something to a tensor is tensor plus. We can use plus as the addition operator, just like in Python. Tensor plus 10 is going to be tensor 11, 12, 13. Tensor plus 100 is going to be, as you'd expect, plus 100. Let's leave that as plus 10 and add 10 to it. And so you might be able to guess how we would multiply it by 10. So let's go multiply tensor by 10. We can go tensor star, which on my keyboard is shift 8, 10. We get 10, 10, 10. And because we didn't reassign it, our tensor is still 1, 2, 3. So if we reassign it here, tensor equals tensor by 10, and then check out tensor, we've now got 10, 20, 30. And the same thing here. We'll have 10, 20, 30. But then if we go back from the top, if we delete this reassignment, oh, what do we get there? Tensor by 10. Oh, what's happened here? Oh, because we've got, yeah, okay, I see. Tensor by 10, tensor. Still 1, 2, 3. What should we try now? How about subtract? Subtract 10 equals tensor minus 10. And you can also use, well, there we go, 1 minus 10, 8 minus 10, 3 minus 10. You can also use, like Torch has inbuilt functions, or PyTorch. So try out PyTorch inbuilt functions. So torch.mul is short for multiply. We can pass in our tensor here and we can add in 10. That's going to multiply each element of tensor by 10. So just taking the original tensor that we created, which is 1, 2, 3, and performing the same thing as this. I would recommend, where you can, use the operators from Python. If for some reason you see torch.mul, maybe there's a reason for that. But generally, these are more understandable if you just use the operators if you need to do a straight up multiplication, straight up addition, or straight up subtraction. Because torch also has torch.add. Torch.add, is it torch.add? It might be torch.add, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. Yeah, torch.add. So, as I alluded to before, there's two different types of multiplication that you'll hear about, element-wise and matrix multiplication. We're going to cover matrix multiplication in the next video. As a challenge, though, I would like you to search what is matrix multiplication. And I think the first website that comes up, matrix multiplication Wikipedia, yeah, Math is Fun has a great guide. So before we get into matrix multiplication, jump into Math is Fun to have a look at matrix multiplying and have a think about how we might be able to replicate that in PyTorch. Even if you're not sure, just have a think about it. I'll see you in the next video.